Ederson Oliveira here. This is another DNN monthly chat. I have with me the usual suspects, Joe and Scott, and I also have two guests. I have Vicens Mazanas and Peter Donker. Guys, welcome Vicens and Peter.
Hello, thank you.
Vicens, I have to tell you, you have beaten me on one of the things that I'm most proud of. Can you guess what that is?
No clue at the moment.
Good. It's my name. Nobody spells my name right, you know? Now, you have an advantage there. Because nobody's keyboard has the little tail that your C has, which is called C cedilla. So you have a big advantage over me. I don't like that.
Well, that's what I told you before. I'm used to be called so many different things that I don't get scared anymore about the pronunciations of my name. So being myself not an English native, I know that people are very proud of their name. So I know that you being Brazilian, I think, right? So I know that your name is Adderson, not Anderson, which I suppose is most people tell you, right?
That's very true. Actually, I'll go one step beyond that. My name is not even Ederson. My name is, it's pronounced very different. But I want to get back to yours because I can spell, of course, your name properly. I have to go two keys there, you know. But nobody else will do that, you know. So again, you have a big advantage there over me, and I don't like that. And I guess let's keep moving forward here, okay?
Okay, great. Peter is much easier to spell.
Of course. I mean, I never miss that, you know. Guys, so the idea here that at some point we're gonna talk a little bit about DNN Connect. Not the first thing here in the agenda, but we're gonna get there. Let's start by talking about DNN 9.1. By the way, we are recording this on Friday, April 21st. So there's a webinar that's supposed to go on next week about DNN 9.1. And it seems to be a big deal because a lot of people will be, a lot of VIPs on the DNN Corp side will be joining that webinar. I had to look at the list of things that they are pushing forward on that release, and actually I have the page right in front of me. So, and again, all the links will be posted in the show notes. So, first thing is about removing Telerik, which has been almost like a pregnancy, you know. I mean, it's something that, but it will take years to get that fully done because the file manager is still relies on Telerik quite a lot, but they are just, you know, they just keep moving forward and pushing that, trying to push that out of DNN, and the effort continues, but it's not fully there yet. And towards the end of the year, they should have it all out, but it's a continuous effort, push Telerik out of the platform. That's one. The second one is about old module removal. So the first version of DNN 9, you could still access the old pages, the old modules by going to /admin or /host. On DNN 9, you will no longer be able to do that. So too bad, better get used to the new DNN 9 interface. That those old ones will no longer be there. What else here? Number 3, compliance with ADA and WCAG. It's funny because just last week, someone asked me a question and said that if we would like to take a compliance test of a website, you know, and it was they wanted to make sure that this DNN website would be compliant with ADA. Quite tricky because there are some aspects of that compliancy that are not fully testable via, you know, a testing website. It's more of a visual thing at some of the guidelines, but again, DNN is moving forward. It's moving towards getting more and more compliant. I don't know how much compliant they will be after this initiative, but I think it's important to highlight that they highlighted this as one of the key initiatives for DNN 9.1. And last but not least, on DNN 9.1, they are also bringing back or I don't know, refactoring, putting it back, or at least making it work properly. Is the import export of websites. That was something that Joe Brickman had mentioned in the last MVP meeting. So they are bringing that back to the platform, and hopefully, because that always worked here and there, but not. It was not a very. I tend to think that it wasn't a very reliable feature, but let's see how that will come about on DNN 9.1. That's about it. Those are the 4 points on DNN 9.1. Guys, anything that you want to mention, anything there? I mean, by all means, make me stop a little bit so I can get water.
Well, I just hope that on DNN 9 they will introduce back a couple of the settings that were removed, probably wrongly removed in the DNN 9. I just remember a couple things that have been discussed in the last couple of weeks in the Facebook groups. And I think that would be also interesting to have them back, because it's a bit awkward to don't have that settings in the DNN 9 nowadays.
Which ones, Vicens? Which ones are you referring to? Anyone in particular?
I think there was once something mentioned that, for example, you couldn't use portal skins, that you only could use host skins. That was one. Then, for example, I found another one last week, just that you cannot have, there is no way for you to disable a page from the user interface. That's another one which is quite common. I mean, most of the times you just want a page to just build a hierarchy of pages. So that's not available, for example, in the DNN 9.02. And there are a couple more that probably most people don't use, but when you take advantage of all the possibilities of DNN, then you find them missing.
Yeah, that one about disabling a page, I just needed that yesterday. And when I went to try to find that, it was not there. Yeah, I just needed that.
Yeah, the problem with that is that with the new interface and all that, at a certain point, you never know if it's your mistake that you are not able to find the specific setting, or that it's really not there. So I find a lot of people asking for that kind of questions, and they never know if they really can't find it, or that the setting is not really there anymore.
Got it. Yeah.
So as you said before, we better get used to the new interface. But obviously, DNN Corp needs to get back those settings that are so useful for us.
Yeah, I mean, there should be a place, and I don't know if it's the Facebook group. Where do we ask those questions? Should we report as bugs? How should we report that? It's not clear in my head of how to report those things. I mean, Peter, how would you go about something like this, Peter?
Well, the official path is a Jira ticket. Now, some have been quite critical of the speed with which Jira tickets get handled, or the fact that at some time there might have been a purge of some issues. But still, this is the primary channel for DNN Corp to know what is broken, what is missing, etc. from us. So I would strongly urge anyone who has an issue, just follow the official path and don't start creating alternative creative paths through Facebook or forums to properly report issues. Now, obviously, on Facebook or in a forum is the best place to quickly spar if you don't really know. So you're like, oh, did this setting go somewhere where I don't know that, I'm not aware of it? That, of course, is totally valid to do that in a forum and to say, okay, well, someone might jump in and say, actually, it's there, and then you don't need to create a Jira ticket.
Got it. Makes sense. Perfect. Okay, so
could I?
Sure, Joe, go ahead.
Yeah, the one that caught my eye was the brand new import-export facility, which is, my understanding, it's totally rewritten. and will be able to import and export things that weren't done before. In particular, I understand that users will be exported or imported. And since it's totally rewritten, that means exporting from an earlier version and importing it into the current version, I think, is not going to be supported. Occasionally you get some sites where you really need to do that. It will probably, if you end up with one of those, it'll be a multi-stage thing to do it in an older version, upgrade to the current version, and do another one. But,
yeah, that's a fair point, Joe. Because I mean, it's very right. If it's rewritten, most likely it will no longer be compatible with the previous version. So yeah, fair point. And I was not thinking about that, but that's a fair point.
But importing and exporting users, I think, is a real plus. I've used a community version, which I can't remember if it's the DNN Connect group that supports it or somebody else. That's a user import export tool, which works fairly well. And I seem to every year or so get a couple of sites that need to have users move from one place to another. So that's been very helpful.
Perfect. Okay, so just to finalize, to wrap up the 9.1 webinar, another thing that will be interesting is to see DNN communicating to Amazon Echo. I'm very interested, and I'll mention that a little bit more towards the end of the conversation. But I'm very excited with bots in general, but I'll mention that. So it will be interesting to see that happening, and I think that those kinds of things of interactions with bots will happen more and more as we progress. Okay. So how about we talk a little bit about the big event of the season. This event here. Those two guys are here to talk a little bit about that with us. So and Peter, you are actually, how do you call yourself in the organization?
It's the master of the universe.
He-Man.
Yeah, actually he is. Peter, we lost you, I think.
Yeah, I think that you're still muted.
Yeah, I should really unmute myself when I'm trying to talk. That definitely helps. Yeah, so I sit here in my lair, and I have all the levers in front of me, and from this place on top of the mountain, I kind of control everything, the universe, etc. So anything that happens, the buck stops here. So anyway,
but you need Bisense, because Bisense controls the money.
Yeah, exactly. That's controls the money. Actually, yeah. There's I have a great like tandem with Bisense, and I've said this before as well. Bisense is my conscience for a large part. Like every time I'm doubting, like, should we do this? Should we not do this? How should we go about this? I fall back on Bisense, and he's the sensible guy in the team. For myself, I hope with regard DNN Connect, that I see my primary task actually to set the vision and the tone of what we do, the scope more or less of what we do. Other than that, obviously, day to day, there's not that much happening, and by a long distance, this is not a done task. It's not an organization that is yet fully fleshed out or has got all its legs underneath it. I mean, there are parts that I'm fully aware of that need more work and more attention, like our web presence and the relationship between web and Facebook. But I see it as work in progress, frankly. I see it as well as a great, vehicle for energizing the community. And of course, it's the vehicle that also carries our event every year.
Got it. And if I may ask, how are the registrations going? I mean, are the numbers keeping up with your
We,
expectations?
I think we see a repeat of the last few years, which is when we open up for early bird registration, there's always a huge influx of registrations. For it's not even that big of a discount, but most of our audience knows that they're going to go anyway. So might as well book early, and they're going to be there. And then it kind of dies down, and then there's a kind of a last minute rush for those people who have kind of postponed the decision, or like, on the fence about it. Like, okay, well, I don't know if I'm going to go this year or not. Let's see if the flights work out, because that's, always, of course, a challenge. And then I hope there's still a nice chunk to go. So we currently hover around 70 participants. And then, a number of family members, I can't remember offhand how many, but the 70 people that will be at the conference. For us, that's fine. Our target is roughly 100-ish. That's where I would like to be. Ideally, that's where we've been hovering around for the past few years. I do expect, like I said, a last-minute push, especially now that the agenda is becoming clearer. But yeah, we'll see.
Got it. And you just mentioned about the sessions there, the agenda there. So I had a look,
Yes.
and there are already about 28 sessions. So in general, without being specific to anyone in particular, I mean, how are the sessions coming about? I mean, are you still expecting people to sign up for, to be presenters, or that's done?
Right. Okay, well, let me give you a quick overview of where we stand with regards to the agenda, because the agenda is now becoming clear. We haven't actually made the schedule itself yet in terms of days.
Yep.
But what we do have is we have selected the bulk of the sessions that will actually happen there. And obviously, what is new between last year and this year is DNN 9.1 when the event happens, and the persona bar. So there's a few things about that. Also, since then, there's been an exciting project that you featured on your show and has been featured on the Southern Fried show a couple of times, is DNN Prompt.
Yeah.
And I'm extremely happy that David Poindexter is going to be there, and in honor of him, I got my cup here.
Good.
So David will be there to present some, the ongoing work on DNN Prompt. DNN Prompt is it's an exciting technology, and the idea is that this will make it into the core of DNN in let's say the near future. Then there is new stuff, like besides the DNN new stuff, there is generic new stuff like Angular 4. So Daniel will be presenting some of his work on that. Daniel is our go-to guy for Angular. And we have, let's see, I wrote some more stuff down. There's a bunch of sessions. Yes.
Yeah, you have topics like IoT, like Xamarin.
Yes. Yeah. So there's I mean, a lot of people are bringing experiences of their work and what they're doing to the conference, and that's always very exciting because you get a whole bunch of people that do various great things and great open source work during the year, and they bring that to the conference. So there's stuff on mobile, IoT, React, as usual. I mean, I think it's a great technology. It's one of my, how should I say, hobby horses. But there's also, for instance, a number of presentations on security this year. So we found two presenters, Mariette Knap and Hans-Peter Ponten, who will be there for the first time this time. And they have a lot of knowledge on SSL, how certificates work, how encryption works, and very practical knowledge about how you implement this stuff, how you get all your client sites secure, because it's kind of 5 to 12 in terms of SSL. Like more and more, the pressure is on to move all of our websites over to HTTPS. And I think our audience needs to have, at this event, what we're offering them is, in any case, a lot of practical, in-depth knowledge about this, so that they can just go back home and immediately start moving their client sites over. Right? That's one of the goals.
Yeah, and on that point, Peter, I mean, even
yes.
Google will start to penalize websites for not being secure. Okay.
Exactly. And so when I invited one of them to Hans Peter to look at our project, what we're doing, first thing he looked at is like, yeah, but most of your sites are just plain old HTTP. What's going on? Are you guys just asleep? I was like, yeah, well, our audience is, we've got bigger fish to fry, every day. There's a lot of stuff happening and a lot of the challenges. And of course, he's an expert in the domain. So he's like, yeah, but you can't really afford to wait this out much longer, right? Browsers are beginning to really clamp down on non-secure sites. I have to be honest, my own site is still HTTP. I need to do this, ASCP as well. So I thought this was a great opportunity this year, is to make sure that there's a couple of people there who have so much knowledge that if you have any questions about this, you will have ample opportunity to, tug them by the shirt and say, look, I'm stuck here. Can you help me out? Right?
Very good. Very good. I have a question for you, Vicens. What is one of the most challenging aspects of putting, because I know that you are, again, part of the committee that organized the event. So what is one of the most challenging aspects to put an event like DNN Connect together?
Well, I would say that most of the time people don't realize how many time you have to invest on organizing something like that and be proud of it. I mean, it's not like just that we met maybe 3 or 4 days before the conference and in a weekend or two we get everything sorted out. We've been working on this year's event. I think it was since before Christmas, right, Peter? End October, November, probably even.
Yes.
So,
yes.
Yeah. And this year we are a bit more relaxed because we repeat at the same place as last year, which was, from what we heard from the people attending, was a great success. So it makes us a bit more relaxed because we used to do every year in a different location, but actually not just in a different location, in a different country. So, I mean, that's not an easy thing to do. We've been doing in Spain, Italy, France, the Netherlands, Belgium, Germany. So we've been crossing all over Europe in the last couple of years. So imagine trying to organize something in a different country where I am from Spain, Peter is from Switzerland, we have Declan in Ireland and Kathy in France. So organizing something like that is not easy. So, I mean, we really are proud that people get so excited about coming to our conferences because we put a lot of effort into it. And I think we are quite proud about what people say about it after the conference is done, because every year we get success after success. So I would say that this is one of the key points for us, trying to do that again and again every year. So I would say that if you ask us 5 minutes before finishing the conference every year, I would tell you, no way I'm doing that again next year. But then people come to you and say, great, you did a great job. So 5 minutes after the conference is done, we start planning about next year's.
In how many years which year is this one for DNN Connect? And I know that there was a time prior to DNN Connect, but what is the year? I mean, is that the 4th year? Which year is this?
I think it's 4th or 5th. We did, this will be the 2nd time in Spain. Then we had one in France and one in Italy. So that would be the fourth under the DNN Connect name. And before that, I think that we are about at least 10 or 11 years into it, right, Peter?
2009 was the first small, tiny meeting of 30 people in Switzerland, where you showed up, Vicence, and had to plow your way through roughly 10 feet of snow to get to the venue. And people will not stop talking about that event because of the amount of snow we had. So 2009, that was the kind of the kickoff. Then there was it veered because no one really took the lead to create an association around it. So it kind of depended on individuals' kind of interest to organize something. And so Sebastian Leupold took initiative. And Philip Becker took initiative. They put the Hamburg event together. Benoit Sarton put the Paris one together in 2010. Hamburg was 2011. And then slowly things began to snowball a little bit. We said, okay, well, DNN Europe. We had this banner of DNN Europe, and that stuck for a while. And at that point, I think in 2012 was, Belgium, where Rob Scherer put something together with Sacha Trouwen in the Ardennes. And at that point, that's where I stepped in with Philip and Vicence to say, okay, well, let's open this up to the rest of the planet and not call it DNN Europe and start calling it DNN Connect. I thought that was a very good idea. And set up an association around this so that we can repeat this over the years. We can finally keep funds right across years, so we can build up a fund to fund the next conference, and that's worked very, very, very nicely.
Very good, very good. Scott, you have a session, correct?
I did submit one.
Yes,
I think
it's been accepted.
It's there because
Yeah.
I have it in front of me. Do you want to talk a little bit about your session?
Yeah, and it'll probably be some overlap with Peter's because we're both doing a persona bar session, but I'm sure there'll be some differences in how we solutioned, the way the packaging process and that kind of thing. So I think it'll be good to have two different perspectives on it. But I'm calling mine practical because I'm coming from a background, I guess I can see some gray hair in a lot of the beards on my screen, but so I guess we've been around for a little while, but and maybe you guys don't struggle as much as I do with all the new the Node technologies and the JavaScript technologies and trying to keep up with all that. So I'm trying to do a practical one is not only practical in the sense of what are the problems you're going to solve with persona. Like, don't just try to build a persona bar extension for no reason. Like, what are the real problems you want to solve with that? And then the other aspect is what's the a practical way to build this using hopefully just one piece of software, Visual Studio 2017. And a packaging process that makes sense to most people that are even new to these technologies. So it's going to be practical in the sense of how you implement your solution and what kind of solutions you should be implementing with as a persona bar extension.
Got it. So just to differentiate, yours is a practical one. Peter's is the impractical one. Okay. So just make it clear. Anyway,
yes.
we selected both of them. I have to say, as an organizer, it's always easier if you at the last minute have to cancel someone's presentation because someone came through that you thought was not going to come, but all of a sudden shows up with a session. If that's my own session. So in a sense, it's also on the bump list of like, okay, well, if someone else comes through that we really want to have talk, then my session will drop. I totally agree with Scott that there are a million ways to skin a cat these days, especially with all the packaging technologies that we have. So I would eat my shoe if he did it in the same way that I did. I'm pretty sure that he took a different packaging system and I did it in TypeScript with React. So it's that's different stuff for a lot of people altogether. So, and also it provides an opportunity, of course, because there are 3 tracks for people to hop and say, okay, I want to learn about the persona bar, so I'm going to do it this way, you know, and go to persona bar thing and the other way. So I think it's just an opportunity actually to have more of this.
Yeah, well, having 2 sessions on a similar track always gives people the opportunity to manage their schedule in a better way. So if you have some competing sessions that draw your attention, you might get an option to be in one of the 2 that are for React, for example. If we only have one, if you miss that, you miss completely the topic. So having 2 different sessions on a similar topic is always interesting stuff.
Very good.
I was looking at the sessions right now, and I realized that over the last couple of years, we moved quite a bit from standard DNN development, how you create your modules, how you develop in C# and that kind of stuff. And I'm seeing that we don't even have any single one like that anymore. It's mostly how do you use all kind of different technologies on top of DNN, being Xamarin, being React, being Angular, being IoT, all kind of stuff. So it's interesting also to see how we as a community and as users of the platform are evolving on using the platform too.
Yeah, it's funny you mentioned, because I did the DNN development training at the Colorado at the DNN Summit this past month or last month, and you know, it's an 8-hour training class on DNN development. That's, you know, and I find myself now that might be the last time I can do a 1-day DNN development training class, because I find myself every year, and I've done this, I think, since 2013 in Charlotte when I've started doing this training, and it's evolved obviously from DNN 7 to 8 and then to 9, but I'm finding that I can't even come close to fitting in everything in 8 hours, and I just have to give everybody DNN Hero subscriptions when they leave, because you know, it's like there's just no way. So those types of training sessions for development may have to change in the future.
Great point. Yeah, you're right. Now, just want to wrap up DNN Connect topic. Joe, Scott, anything for Vicens or Peter? I mean, anything that you may want to ask, or rest your peace?
Sure. Since I will be one of the people halfway around the world, or a quarter of the way around the world, I'm interested, are you streaming anything this year? I spent a rainy Saturday afternoon last year with the streaming session going, wandering in and out of the room. So I'm looking forward to doing that again.
Last year we had a great opportunity coming from Microsoft. They sponsorized it as the streaming. It went right away to Channel 9. This year we don't have the same the same opportunities from Microsoft, but we are planning to recording the sessions. Maybe not doing live streaming, but at least we'll have some of the sessions. Peter is managing this thing, so Peter, you probably can confirm or not that we're going to do something.
Well, I ordered the little gizmo box that should allow us to to record people. Whether it will work, I don't know. It's going to arrive right before the conference, I guess, in my mailbox, and I'm going to have to kind of cram some hours in there to see how it actually works. But it would be very nice to do this, Joe. I also feel it's nice for DNN Connect to have some content out there on YouTube of some of these sessions. So I'm pretty motivated to do to record at least one of the rooms, like we did last year. You won't see the smaller rooms, but you know, so be it. One day might be we might expand on that.
It's a complicated operation. The DNN Summit attempt to stream was kind of up and down most of the day, and I think we got some good recordings out of it. But And on a very serious note, Peter, are your kids practicing to video bomb anything that might be recorded?
Not right now. I know this has happened to me a couple of times when I was in a meeting like this, and then all of a sudden, little head appears. So it's in the middle of the afternoon, so everyone's off right now. So that's kind of okay. But in the evening, we do have surprises with some of these meetings of getting photobombed. But this year, actually, I am planning to bring my daughter to the event to help out on a serious note. It'll be good for her languages and everything. So and definitely this year, because we're organizing it around Ascension, which in most of Europe is a public holiday. We're seeing that quite a few people are bringing their family over to this venue, and create more of a family-oriented event around DNN. The dinner we have, that's central, so everyone's sitting in the same room, but all these families are there, and actually I find that heartwarming to see all these families come together because we have this network.
I think that the atmosphere that is around these kind of conferences makes it very easy for people to bring the families and feel like at home. So that's what we try to do actually there. I mean, we are not professional conference organizers, so we try to keep that in a very familiar fashion, making everyone feel like at home and be as the best guest as possible that we can be. So that's why people try to repeat and repeat again on those conferences. And that's why we are not so interested in streaming it all live, Joe, so that people come there and see us face to face.
That's right.
Good point.
It does feel more like a vacation.
Yeah.
I think I could make a very successful argument that you shouldn't stream something like this live. To really make it a benefit of attending, that you actually get to see the show. And I really like the notion of being able to expand the network and see each other as something other than a businessman, a software developer, a web developer. That generally we meet people at conferences and we know them from the technical side of things, but we're all people. So it's good to get to know people that way.
I can tell you for sure, Joe, that I would say that 90% of the people that come to our conferences come there for the socializing and the networking. I'm not saying that the technical stuff is not important, but I'm practically sure that if we had no technical content at all, at least 80% of the people that have joined the conference would come again and again and again.
Looking for booze, looking for beer, looking for wine.
Well, actually, on a serious note, I do want to actually, before we round off on DNN Connect, just make sure that the audience fully understands this. Our network, our event was born out of a networking type of event. So the people that we draw are, guys like most of us here who are, sole hired guns, developers or small business owners. And we've built up over the years because, as we discussed before, been around for a while, built up a very nice network. Now, I am aware of a lot of work being shifted around in this network, right? Of people cooperating, and Vicens can certainly attest to this. I know that he's up to his eyeballs in work from people from this network. So it is very worthwhile. And what I'm beginning to see now, and as I'm also reaching out to business owners, small business owners who are in IT, but not necessarily in DNN, to show up to our event, because I'm saying, look, this is a really quite a good tight-knit network that is very valuable for you to be with. And we might see the first attendees, first 3 or 4 entities of this effort coming to our event this year. Of course, the price of, what is it, 400 euros for non-sharing, your own room for 3 nights plus a conference is peanuts by any standard. So it's not the cost that is prohibitive. Maybe the travel is difficult. It's difficult to get the right flight or whatnot. But in terms of the conference itself, the cost is minimal. And as we keep saying, you just pay that sum and you can leave your wallet at home. I mean, that's it, right? The beer is free, the food is free. After that, you just bathe in our event. Just making sure that we get the deal.
Peter, could you tell my wife that? Would you mind repeating that to my wife?
I will definitely repeat that. I
can leave my wallet at home. Okay.
You can leave your wallet at home. And spouses, by the way, they can join for 200.
Yeah.
So they get the dinner bit. And actually, if you calculate the whole thing, then you get to come in for 350. So it becomes a 550 package for a couple to come to the event. Now, that for 3 nights in a hotel that has a pool and is in a nice rural surroundings like where it is in Catalonia in Spain, about an hour away from Barcelona. But there are worse places to go for that money.
Absolutely. I was thinking, just Peter, we might be making more expensive for wives, so that more people are coming then. Maybe that we make the wives so cheap is distracting people from coming.
Don't you have to bring your wallet for the 2 weeks you spend in Barcelona? That's
what I'm doing. Yeah.
That's one of the nice
we have to tell Joe Brinkman to bring the spare wallets around as well.
Anyway,
oh,
guys,
so if I showed up, I could use Joe Brinkman's wallet, huh?
or you can get mixed up with the Joes, no? Peter, just any final note about the event? I mean, how do you wrap up? What is one thing that you like people to I guess that leave this talk knowing about?
Yeah, so first of all, I think I owe it to the main sponsors to at least mention them. So Manage.com, DNN Corp, and 2SIG have been very kind to step up again this year to be the main sponsors for the event. I'd like to mention that Joe and Dennis Shao from DNN Corp will be there. There are a number of people from the US coming besides Joe and Dennis. There is Ilan Lipton from Microsoft at Redmond has confirmed again, so I think that's very, very exciting. Again, we're hoping to kind of pick his brain on things like .NET Core, what's coming next, etc. Scott, who is on the call, will be there. I'm very excited that Will Stroll will be there as well. A long time, giant in our community, and really looking forward to seeing him again. DNN Sharp is coming with a large team from Romania, so they'll have a larger presence at the event. And for the rest, the usual suspects, a large section of the European community that will be at the event. So I sincerely, welcome anyone to join us at this event. I think it's going to be a great event again. And like I said, you can't really go wrong with the content that we have, the price point that we're at. I think it's an easy sell to anyone, whether it's your wife or your boss, or I think that's the same thing, right? To pitch this.
Very good, very good, perfect. So that's
Can I just say to Peter and to Jensen, your small team, congratulations for what you've done in the past and what's coming on, and having participated in organizing 2 events in the last year and a half. I think it's more work than Vicenza advertised it as. It's a lot of work, but it is incredibly rewarding to do it and provide something like that to the community. So good for you guys and
Thanks, Joe.
girls.
Very
Yes.
good, very good. Let it be our message from all of us here. So, okay, so let's get going. We still have a few things, but I'm just gonna try to brush through them. A few blog posts that came about last month. I just want to mention about three. One is from our friend Jeff Barlow, who will be presenting as well on DNN Connect. It's about the DNN theme editor, which is an editor that you can hook up a theme and you can make elements of that theme customizable. Very interesting. I had a chance to give it a run and I really like that. So there's a post talking about that. And again, if anyone has anything to mention about anything that I'm mentioning, that I'm brushing through, please just say, hey, stop. Okay, so that's one. The next one here is a blog post from Will Morganweg. It's about DNN 9. So it's basically talking about the new things that will be coming out on DNN 9.1. The next one is a post from another presenter of DNN Connect, which is Daniel Mettler, about Angular 4. He talks about his first impressions about Angular 4 and a few more things. So that's our friend Daniel talking here. That's about it in terms of blog posts. Just want to cover a little bit about some new releases, not so much new modules, but new releases of existing modules on the Forge. I want to mention about the one from Sasha, which is the open content module. There are a lot of people that are fan of that module, so there's a new release of that one. Also, there is a new release, and again, I think this is every week. There's a new release of Too Sexy Content from our friend Daniel Mettler, and again, that's new this week because it's close to be daily release of that module. Next one, it's just a recap of DNN theme editor from Jeff Barlow. It's just something on the Forge. I just picked one theme and one module release from the store that I find relevant, I found interesting. So there's this new skin, this new theme from Speedy Application, and it's quite a colorful theme. So I really like the colors, I really like the styling. It's very, very, very colorful. So again, just to give you guys an idea, each menu has a different color. So I think that you can see how interesting this is. So interesting theme. And in terms of modules, I just pick the Easy DNN News module. I'm a fan of those guys. I really like their stuff, and I just bought Easy DNN News last week to augment what I'm doing at ederson.com. I'm just giving an example here. I really like they have an extension they have a URL extension that makes the URL very, very user friendly. There's no IDs there, and the same can be said, Peter, about blog module. But I'm just again featuring something from the store here. So again, very, very good module. I'm really a fan of Easy DNN News. Whenever we come across a client that needs article or something like that, usually they are the choice. That's about it. Let me see here. Okay, so this is about blogs, modules, themes. Want to move on to an event that I just watched yesterday. It was the Southern Fried DNN meetup, which again just went on yesterday at night, and there were two main topics there. One was about the documentation center on the DNNsoftware.com. So DNNsoftware.com/docs. Yeah, that's docs or doc. Not sure right now. But Eleonor Tesoro, who's the knowledge manager at DNN, she's the one behind the documentation center. So she was there in the event, taking questions, explaining, what she's doing there on the documentation center. And I would recommend that you guys have a look at the recording of the meetup. It's not up yet, of course, because it was yesterday, but I was there checking out the event. The second part of that event was done by Kelly Ford. He was explaining about prompt, and I want to get your opinion about that, Peter, in a second. But he was talking about how you can extend prompt, how you can create commands on prompt. I want to pause a little bit here, Peter. Why do you think that prompt has had this kind of welcoming reception to this concept, to this idea? Give me your 2 cents here, Peter.
Yeah, well, you're, and I architected the extension point, so I'm not totally impartial to how prompt works. And Kelly is a long-time big friend of mine, and I was thrilled when he came to me with this idea and said, would you like to join and help out on some of these things? So I like Scott mentioned before, the great beard people, we've been delving in a lot of different technologies over the past few years. Specifically since Node came to the fore and JavaScript became the language basically to do just about anything, whether it was programming or packaging or whatnot. We've been bathed in these technologies, and what part of it is that you get used to console operation or whatever you're doing, right? So all of a sudden you're expecting almost, when you say, oh, I need to do this, you Google it, you find some resource, and it will say, type in this command. And more, you begin to recognize it. If it starts with npm install or something, what is going to happen. It's a Node package that's going to be installed. So for someone like me, that's no mystery anymore. And in fact, I've begun to appreciate it, rather than having to go through some kind of an installer, some funky installer that someone wrote. And you're going to have to tell your Windows, where do you want to install it, and it shows warnings, and then sometimes something didn't work and whatnot. So it kind of removes a whole bunch of complexity from installing, makes it, in my opinion, much more elegant. So anyway, that's just a prelude to why I think prompt is timely and desirable right now for DNN. Is as people like myself are more and more, and I think more and more modern developers are just used to seeing the world through a console app, then I think DNN deserves this as well. So that I think is a very powerful concept, to think that the idea that you can script things, you can just type stuff in your DNN console and go okay, do this and this and this, right? Add this page, add a user, remove a user, or authenticate, authorize a user, that kind of stuff, that you can do it just by typing a couple of words, and that's done. I think that's an extremely powerful concept. The next stage is to make this available remotely. That's something that has been kind of top in the back of my mind of once this starts to roll, I would like to be able to control that remotely through a pipe into a site, so to speak. Secure, obviously, but to be able to control stuff. That would allow me then to script stuff for various installations at the same time, to develop scripts, basically doing stuff that I want to do on sites, like creating backup or purge old users, whatnot. And then finally, of course, the extensibility. This is just fantastic. Just the ability that in a module, just like we do with Web API nowadays. So with Web API, you create a controller, and it's magically picked up by your ASP.NET application, right? You create that controller, it inherits from a particular class, and all of a sudden you have that method available. Now, we do something similar in DNN prompt. If your DLL implements a particular class and starts creating commands according to a specific pattern, those commands actually will be picked up, and you can then, through the console, address those commands within your module. And I think that's, again, an extremely powerful concept that really departs from where DNN sits today.
Got it. And I agree with all your points there. And I would add one more there, which it's not that obvious, but I think this is good for not just for advanced users, but for basic users, and I'm gonna tell you why.
Tell me.
Just you can potentially avoid overloading UIs with too many options. See, I mean, again,
Absolutely.
come on, DNN has a lot of settings. So
Exactly.
how about we have a slimmer UI with basic set of options, and then you can still reach those more, intricacies, those more hidden or settings via a prompt. So I think that can be beneficial to the simplicity of the admin experience. What do you think about that?
Yeah, absolutely, and it's funny you should mention it because, and it's also funny you should address the issue of like, yeah, beginners versus advanced users. This has been also a kind of a push and pull in the project itself, because Kelly came more from the side of from what you were mentioning just now. It's like, well, for noobs who come to the system, it would be great, if it would work like this and this and this. And I think it's totally valid. The only thing is that, of course, my frame of reference is, people like myself who are well versed in the platform and want to kind of speed things up. And so for the advanced user, so to speak. Now, I completely agree that the settings, and this is also actually part of the reason why it's on the radar of DNN Corp, is they're also fully aware of that point. So they know that they can't endlessly keep on going, cluttering the UI with settings that only one or two people on the planet might actually want to tweak. And this is a far easier way to offload some of that stuff from the UI and say, okay, well, you know what, we're going to make that into a command. You just run this command, and then these settings will have been changed.
Very good, very good. So I think that's about it for the main part of the conversation here. Actually, you're gonna approach 1 hour, but that's fine. I mean, again, as I said on the previous chat, if you don't want to listen, that's fine. It's your choice. You can stick around or not. But let me ask that. I'm gonna ask that to each one of you guys. What is interesting? What have you been working in the last month or so that is interesting, that is sparking your curiosity? So I'm gonna start with you, Joe. Anything that jumps to mind?
Nothing in the DNN world.
It doesn't have to be. It doesn't have to be the DNN. It does not.
No, my life has been in the Raspberry Pi world recently. I've spent a lot of non-productive time building stuff and doing stuff. And actually, last night, as I watched the Southern Fried DNN meeting, I destroyed an operating system on one system. So fortunately, it's fairly easy to rebuild it.
You fried a pie or not? You just fried this
No.
system?
I just trashed something in the operating system, which is easy to recover from.
Very good. Scott,
but,
anything, Scott?
No, I was just going to add one little thing.
Okay,
I have one of the new Pi Zero Ws about this size, and it is so much fun to be able to make a remote desktop connection to it.
Wow!
I mean, it hangs on one wire, which is the power connection, but everything else is a totally wireless control of it. Just really fun and amazing technology, but that's another story.
Very good. So Scott, anything from you?
I guess maybe not really DNN platform, but the Evoke stuff. I've been playing around with that liquid content or structured content, visualizers and that kind of stuff. I'm putting together new training for clients next week. I've got to do, I don't know, 24 hours of training. So revamping a lot of that. And so yeah, that's what I've been up to.
Perfect. Vicens?
Well, I know that I'm quite a late comer to it, but I am recently working on React, JavaScript, services framework stuff. So, and I'm really liking it. We here have been long-term web forms users, and recently are switching over to those new modern technologies. And I really think it's a very, very good platform, and I am really liking it. So I'm also looking forward what I can learn at the conference versus React, versus Angular, versus how people are using this kind of platforms. Because obviously that's where the future is. So we really need to be using that kind of things.
Very good, very good. And last but not least, well, last will be me, but Peter, how about you?
Yeah, you're going to take the lid of something. Okay, so here we go. A couple of things. The Raspberry Pi W, and as Joe mentioned as well, I got 3 of them now, I think, at home, and I managed to fry one of them. And that's the first time I managed to fry a pie. So that was, almost exciting, if you like. And secondly, I made my first mobile app in React Native, because I've been long on the fence about this. Xamarin seemed to be the way to go for our whole community. We had a lot of Xamarin content last year at the conference as well. But I'm a little bit critical of how Microsoft has gone about the whole Xamarin thing. I'm like, geez, first of all, like you have to install a gazillion things, and my PC slows to a halt. It seems that development is just complex, and then I have to make so Xamarin means you develop in C# and XAML. And React Native means you program in JavaScript and React. And the thing is, if I, JavaScript or C#, I'm like, yeah, okay, whatever, I'll choose any one of those two. But in XAML versus React, I'm like, I'm getting pretty fluent in React right now, so I want to take a look at building stuff in React Native, and that's extremely exciting. There's a very, very vibrant and up-and-coming community around this. So that's very exciting. And I want to mention then as well that I just fell off the couch when Vicente mentioned that he was getting into React. I think I'm going to I'm going to have to get a drink now, because for so long I've been trying to convince and trying to drag him into this world.
Yeah. Well, running a business, running a company, having multiple people around the place, being on meetings all day long, on the phone here and there. I know that for myself, I'm getting a bit old and not being up to date on those technologies. So I don't have that many time nowadays to develop anymore. So I feel the old days of developing 10 hours a day even. I maybe have done 10 hours a week of development.
I keep teasing Vicente about this, right, all the time. This is something like this is an ongoing thing between me and Vicente, because of course I'm much more agile because I'm on my own. So I can show all these new things, and he'd be like, "Oh my God, I just do not have the time to look at any of these technologies." So. Yeah.
It's very refreshing, very good to hear that I'm not alone in the new universe, So very refreshing to hear somebody else out there that shares the same challenges that I'm going through.
Well, I just love being part of this community where all these people are talking about getting old. I have no idea what that could possibly be like.
Very good, guys. Okay, so I want to wrap up with my thing. My thing is about bots. A year ago, that was the first time, over a year ago, that was the first time that I saw bots. A friend of mine developed a bot for Slack, and I was amazed with that. And again, this is not super new, but let me tell you, bot development is a thing, and we are in the very infancy of that. And it's funny because, again, next week we are, DNN will be presenting something about a bot, a chat bot. So bots will be more and more present on what we're doing. And I think that there is a nascent field on the bot arena, and when we are in the very nascent stages of that. So that's very interesting to see. I find it very interesting to see that develop, that unfold, how this will unfold, and hopefully I want to somehow be part of that as well, even if it's just talking about it. But again, I find bots amazing. I mean, it will be, write that down. It's the next, internet gold rush, as web development was at some point, and it still is a big thing. But in mobile development, and let me tell you, bot development is the next big thing. I'm telling you guys, you can write that. You can take to the bank. Anybody? Okay, that's it. Bots. Last thing here is just something that I released last week. It's we partner with DNN Creative to bring their content over to DNNHere.com. So on DNNHere.com now you can find a lot of content about design, skinning, theming, and all content on DNN Creative is also available on DNN Hero. Subscription pricing will go up on May 5th, but from now until there, it's still $79 a year, and after that it will be $129 a year. That's my plug for the chat. Anybody else wants to plug anything before we wrap this up and we say goodbyes? Crickets? That means that nobody has anything. Okay, that was a great talk, an hour and 6 minutes. Guys, I wish you, Scott, Vicens, Peter, have a great event there. I mean, I hope that you have a blast as you guys usually have over there. Let us know, and we'll be talking again in about a month. I hope that after the event or before, I'm not sure yet, but let's see. Have a great event, guys. Thank you. Bye.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Thanks, Addison.
Bye.
Bye-bye.